is my Can't Talk, and there's the lovely logo. Well, my book is The White Queen by Phillippa Gregory, and I just left it as The White Queen because I'm not creative with titles. And about the story, it takes place during 1455 to 1485, and it's the War of the Roses, and it lasted about 30 years. And it was mostly about the conflict between the two houses, the houses of Lancaster and the house of York. And they are cousins. This is why it's also called the Cousins War, because it's cousins versus cousins, brothers versus brothers, mothers turning against their children. It's like a complicated family matter, honestly. And the story takes place when Edward IV takes the throne, and the Lancaster had to go in exile, hide, or they'll lose their head. And when the story takes place, it started out with Elizabeth Woodville, the commoner in the house of Lancaster, waiting underneath the tree, and Edward IV met her and fell in love with her. And the thing about this is, he's from the house of York, she's from the house of Lancaster, and she's a commoner at that. So that was a big no for the political reasons. But it's like a fairy tale, but it actually happened. They fell in love at first sight. He got married to her after a couple weeks, and he just shows up to court announcing that this is his queen of choice. And that caused a lot of problems, especially between his cousin, the Earl of Warwick, who made Edward king. So, this story basically progressed as how Warwick tries to build up rebellions to overthrow Edward because he didn't listen to him. He also sided with the Lancastrian queen, Margaret von Jewler, and tried to overthrow him. And when that didn't work, he tried to put Edward's brother, George, Duke of Clarence, on the throne, but that didn't work. So that's why they stress the emphasis on the Cousins War, because it's always a family matter. This is an important thing. Why is this story important? Because if you know anything about the War of the Roses or about Richard III, you hear it from Shakespeare. And he wrote under Tudor monarch, so it was Tudor propaganda. And in this book, you can see it from a different perspective and a different bias. And it was mostly about three women trying to take the throne and keep it, honestly. Elizabeth Woodville, the main character of the novel, did everything she could. Family's important to her. People say she was just witchcraft to stay in power. The second one is Anne Neville. She is the daughter of Warwick, who married the Lancastrian prince. So they can't have the throne, but end up marrying Richard III. And then the third one would be Margaret Beaufort, who is the mother of Henry Tudor, and she always dreamed of having the throne to herself. So it was mostly a story about schemers and plotters, and it was a woman that made the battles actually happen. The men just went to battle and fought, but it was really them that orchestrated the whole thing. And would I include this in the AP English 4 curriculum? I mean, you could, because it's British. Besides that, you can compare it to Shakespeare and the writing between them. Because Because like Shakespeare wrote under a Tudor bias, Tudor propaganda, and like Phillippa Gregory, she wrote from her point of view from the House of Lancaster and House of York side. So they didn't seem as totally bad and evil as Shakespeare portrayed them. For example, Richard III, Shakespeare portrayed him as like, oh, he's this angry, evil guy who forced people to marry him. He took the throne by force. He's a usurper. But like from her view, you can see like he was just a brother trying to keep his family intact, basically. So if you add to the curriculum, you like compare the two writings.
Got it?